most of the tools targeting us are not targeting us specifically. They're not putting Trojans on our individual devices. That sort of spying is very expensive, it's resource intensive, and it is saved for people who are enemies of the state, who they actually want to spend this money going after. But all of our data is collected. Why? We're using services that are not private. We're using services like Google for our email and our searches and all of this. And Google, we think, I have this free email service called Gmail provided by Google. Why is Google providing me this free service? What do they get out of that? Well, Google is an advertising company. We are their product. If they're getting access to all of our personal communication, they're learning a ton about us. So they are analyzing every private correspondence that we have with someone, putting that into a profile. And that profile is available for collection. And so when it comes to big things we can do in our lives to reclaim our privacy, we don't have to worry about being airtight. We just have to look at those big services and ask the question, are they collecting our data in bulk and storing it forever in a profile that the government can then go and extract information from at any time? Or are we choosing services that encrypt their information, that don't access their information, that respect us as consumers? These days, we have the choice, and the encrypted versions are just as good, if not better, than the normal version. So I use ProtonMail or Tutor as my email provider. They're both privacy-respecting services. You can easily transfer all of your Gmails into one of these accounts and just take away that data that is being used to mass surveil everyone. The same with the messenger that you use. Are you talking to everyone on Facebook Messenger, or are you using something like Signal? The same way if you're using a search engine. Are you using Google Search, or are you using Brave Search, or are you using Start Page, which is a private front end for Google? You should be making active choices in your life to just reclaim these vast areas that currently you're handing over data of your own volition. You can reclaim all of that privacy just by making switches to these more privacy-preserving technologies. And that means that if someone wants to go back in time and target you for whatever reason, they're going to have a whole lot less information. They're not going to have your email records. They're not going to have your text messages. They're not going to have your search history. You have just protected yourself from some potential future adversary targeting you for whatever reason they might choose.
Yeah, I was one. You mentioned Signal. That's something it took me a long time, and it was funny. I resisted it. Like more and more of my friends were getting into that kind of stuff, and they're like, "Why? You shouldn't be texting. Why don't you get Signal, or maybe use some other kind of service?" And I resisted, and it took me like 47 seconds to install it. And then once I did and started talking, I was like, why didn't I do this 2 years ago? And then now I try to be the evangelist and introduce other people to it. Like if someone wants to talk to me, I say, hey, do you have this? I'd feel more comfortable and it's of course not because we're doing anything nefarious, but it's just in general, why should it be? Yeah. Like I don't want everyone just eavesdropping on what we're doing here. So why wouldn't I? Yeah. So it is amazing. Like a little thing like that boom, it took me under a minute to get it going. And then now any conversation I have in there, at least is a lot more protected than the other stuff. And so as we wrap it up here, Naomi, your channel, you talk about more than merely financial stuff, right? Like I saw you had a video about which email to use and things. So you got a lot of stuff there, right? Like practical things that people can do as opposed to just griping about the world at large. There's lots of stuff you can do. That's not going to make you invulnerable to the malevolent forces out there, but certainly can give you a leg up on it.
Absolutely. So, we have over 600 videos going into all areas of your life. So if you're like, what is the best camera to have around my home? Because is a company getting access to my video feed? It seems like it's just an app on my phone, but is that getting sent off to some server? Is someone collecting it? Like we provide deep dives into all of this tech we use in our daily lives and try to give actionable items that you can implement to improve your privacy or help you reclaim your digital freedoms. So it's mainly privacy, but we also talk about decentralized platforms. We've seen a swath of people get deplatformed because YouTube doesn't like what they say that week. And so there's decentralized platforms out there where you can put your content where it can't be taken down. And so there's just all kinds of different tools that enable individuals to reclaim freedom in an increasingly controlled internet environment. So we try to go through all of those tools one by one. If you're worried about email, we have 1 million videos about how to move your email over to a more private provider, how to move your messages over to a more private end-to-end encrypted platform like Signal. And so like our main aim is really just to give people tools to empower them. A lot of my friends are political activists, and so they're really trying to tell politicians, hey, change these laws. And I'm less optimistic than they are about that as an avenue for change. But, they're fighting a good fight. So you keep going with all of that. But if you simultaneously don't want to kowtow to politicians and want to be able to just take back your freedom in your own life, we have tools that will enable you to just reclaim it without having to get a politician to pass some law that then is going to get watered down by someone else and they don't really give you anything but a scrap of the freedom you maybe had 20 years ago. You can actually be reclaiming a lot of this stuff today. You are an empowered individual. You can take it. You can just start making these changes in your life. And I encourage everyone to just be proactive in their own life. No one's coming to save you. Don't think that someone else is going to be the solution to these problems. The answer ultimately is going to be in your hands and you just educating yourself about the tools that are already available. You're just going to learn how to use them.